Hey ladies, and welcome to this week's edition, part two of dun, 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 do this before fat loss. So if you didn't listen to part one, go back to April 24th, 2025, listen to part one, because today we're going to talk about four more things you can do that will set you up for sustainable long-term fat loss. And remember, it's fat you want to lose, not muscle, not bone, it's fat. Okay, so welcome back to Menopause Made Easy with Tanya. This is a space where we embrace midlife with strength, grace, and just the right amount of sass, let me tell you. Okay, you got to have some sass during this incredibly challenging period of time that until recently wasn't really talked about at all. Okay. Oh, I just realized my mic's over here. Okay. And I'll try it for this episode. Dun, dun, dun. Alrighty. And my red light just went back off. So I'm going to turn it on. I like to put it on my feet. Okay. So we are diving into part two of our conversation that I started last week. And trust me, this is a must listen. If you've ever found yourself stuck in the emotional eating loop, or frustrated by diets that just don't work long term. Okay, so I'm going after long term sustainable because I hear so many of you, you lose the weight, and I don't like the term weight, but anyway, you lose and then you gain, and you gain more, and your body composition becomes worse, but you don't realize it. You end up gaining more fat and you've lost muscle. Okay, so before you do a fat loss plan, which we will talk about, all right, we need to address these 8 things. I talked about 4 of them last week, so that you can get yourself out of these cycles that are undermining you. All right. So just as a little reminder, hindsight is 2020. So if I could sit down with myself and say, Tanya, before you jump into another fat loss phase or weight loss program, get your emotional stress and social eating under control. And remember, it's the fat you want to lose, not muscle or bone. Okay. Those are your longevity. I did an episode, I think it's 6 or 8, about osteoporosis. Ladies, you cannot see your bones and your muscles, but you must take care of them. Okay. And I am talking to myself as well. I've been increasing the amount of weights that I'm lifting, 30 and 40 pounds for certain exercises. And I'm going to start lifting heavier. I'm changing up some of my routines. I'm starting my Age Strong program for some women. It is time that we get serious about building muscle, but we'll talk about that more later. I've done many episodes on this. Okay, so maybe like you, I spent years chasing a smaller number on the scale, obsessing over every pound without realizing that real change starts from the inside out. Okay, it starts from the inside. And it wasn't until I was in my mid-30s that I finally flipped the script and I stopped pushing, dieting, criticizing myself, and started inviting compassion, curiosity, and grace. And that's when everything started to shift. I'm not kidding you. That's when things happened. So if you are in the thick of emotional eating and you're using food or alcohol to soothe that's stress, then this episode is for you. Okay. And these next 4 steps will help you to build a loving, solid, loving foundation before starting any fat loss journey. So let's jump in. All right. So we did the 4 steps last week. Step number 5 is we must stock our kitchen with healthy options. So let's be real. When emotional eating strikes, your environment matters. If your pantry is full, or your cupboards are full, or your fridge is full of chips and cookies and leftover Halloween candy or nibbles or your stash or alcohol or bread or anything that is just so tempting for you. I have this saying, if you can't moderate, eliminate for a short period of time. Okay, it is uncomfortable, but it really, again, brings a lot of awareness to you. Then guess what? When you're going to reach for this stuff when it's stress, when you're stressful, when you're stressed, when you're lonely, when you're bored, because it's too easy. It's too if it's in your house. It's right there. Okay. So, but if your fridge and pantry have nourishing options, then you are better able to support yourself with healthier choices. Okay, so here are a couple of ideas for you. If you are looking for crunch, because a lot of my clients will say, I need crunch, I need crunch. I'm not a fan of chickpeas, but you could try some roasted chickpeas, okay? You could have some, oh my God, you could have some celery and carrot sticks. Look at that. All right, so get some crunchy vegetable sticks, have some hummus. I don't mind hummus, but I have to tell you, I make my own. You have listened to my episodes on seed oils. Like, again, get those things out of your diet. If it says any of those seed oils, and unfortunately, so many healthy things have these bad seed oils. I think the tide will change. It's already changing in restaurants. Consumers are getting savvy. It's going to change, but for right now, it's still in a lot of products. So, try some kale chips can be crispy. That's what I did for a while. And then ask yourself, why do you need to crunch? Good question. All right, so instead of ice cream, you could go for some Greek yogurt, plain, high fat Greek yogurt, okay, or cottage cheese with berries. Again, get the high fat stuff or at least some fat. Don't do low fat, no fat. Yeah, gross. And instead of candy, you can get some dark chocolate. I've had Giddy Yo-Yo. Oh, goodness gracious me. Oh, why her name's just escaped me. Oh, I can see it. Bridget. Okay. I love Giddy Yo-Yo chocolate or Giddy Yo chocolate. Okay, so I have a couple of dark squares of that, or something I've been doing lately is I get a medjool date, and I actually do half of one because I get the big organic juicy ones, and I put a date. So I'll put a date, I'll put a pecan, a date, and a pecan. Oh my gosh, it's really tasty. And I got these pecans when I was in Georgia, and the pecans are unbelievable, melt in my mouth. So anyway, instead of candy, you can have that. And then you can also batch prepare some healthier options that are higher in protein, some hard-boiled eggs. Gosh, I go to my farmer next door down the road, love his eggs. Okay, find a farmer, support a farmer, get their eggs. So hard-boiled eggs, turkey roll-up. So when I was just away, I would get some turkey, some brie cheese, a little slice of pickle, roll that up. Oh, it was fabulous. Some protein shakes. I love my shakes. I still love them. And you could even try like an egg cup muffin. I have a whole protein guide. If you want it, just let me know and I'll send you the link for it. But these little changes make a big difference when cravings hit. I need some water. Okay, so stock your kitchen with healthy options. And when you start to have these emotional urges, go for a healthy choice. All right, practice mindful eating. Slow down. So, speaking from experience, when I was in emotional chaos, I would be eating so fast that I didn't even taste my food. Okay, so mindful eating, chew your food, helps you tune into real hunger. And I've done episodes on real versus not real hunger, hedonistic eating, which we're talking about, versus, eating for our bodies. Right? So mindful eating helps you tune into real hunger cues and create space between the impulse and the action. So starting with some really simple tips is, how often are you eating with distraction? So take the phone away, take the TV away, and taste the food. And I don't do this all the time. And I'm still a member of the Clean Plate Club most of the times. So I've really got to watch how much food I put on my plate. So that is a big one for me. Turn off your TV, turn off your phone, and just be present with your food and taste it, chew it. Use your senses and notice the colors and the texture and the flavors of your food. And there's, I've done an episode on this as well, but use the hunger scale and ask yourself, like, am I truly hungry? Or am I just tired or stressed or bored or lonely or frustrated, whatever it is? And you really want to sit there and go on a scale of 1 to 10. How hungry do I feel? And you want to aim to eat at when you're about a 3 to a 4, where you're gently hungry, and stop when you hit a 7 and an 8, when you're comfortably full, not stuffed. You don't want to wait till you're too hungry, because that's when you start to eat faster and you just shove more food into your face. Okay, so really become present with your hunger scale. And remember that this isn't about perfection. This is not about perfection. This is about progress. It's about paying attention. And even though what I'm sharing with you may feel like it's going to take longer, it will be shorter in the long run. That's the thing, everybody. When you nail these 8 things down, when you really start to focus on your hedonistic eating, your stress, your emotional, your social eating, you pay attention, you nail these things down, it speeds up. Okay. Step number 7 is gentle exercise and self-care. One of the best ways to regulate emotional eating, drum roll, the name of my business, move your body. Move your body. Okay, you don't need to go to the gym and hit it hard every day, but you do need movement that feels good and reduces stress in your body. I believe in a balanced approach to not only eating, but to movement. Okay, I do Pilates, I do yoga, I do stretching, I do rolling, I lift medium weights, light weights, heavy weights, I do walking, I do jumping, HIIT classes. Okay, I have a very broad menu that we all need. You can't just get stuck on one thing. You really have to have all of these things in a little bit every week. Dance, jump on your trampoline. Okay, so all of these things like yoga, Pilates, stretching, blocking, rolling really helps to going for a walk really helps to lower your cortisol and increase calm in your body. Okay, walking, light cardio, putting on some great music, jumping on your trampoline, boosts your mood, clears your head, right? Changes your state. Strength training improves body confidence, posture, metabolism, builds muscle, builds bone, builds healthy joints. Okay, so proper form when you're strength training, that is important. And I have tons of classes in my Vibrant Living membership. I also teach live on Zoom. I personal train. If I resonate with you, then please reach out to me. Okay, and then let's not forget self-care, because sometimes the most important thing and the most powerful thing that you can do instead of eating, okay, which is really not self-care, is really to simply nurture yourself. Nurture yourself. Love yourself. Light a candle. Stare at the candle. Take a bath. Read something inspiring. Pick up a hobby that you've neglected. Okay. I know that we are using food to fill ourselves up emotionally, okay, instead of connecting with other people or doing things that we love. Eating feels like a safe option, okay? And I really understand this now. When we don't feel safe, it's uncomfortable. And so we gravitate to what feels safe, even though it's not necessarily good for us. Okay, I will do another episode on that, but it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to feel discomfort. You will survive. I have survived. I feel stronger moving through it. Okay, and when we fill ourselves up emotionally, food stops being the only source of comfort. And I used food for decades. Okay, so I used food for decades to nurture myself because I had some social anxiety that I really wasn't aware of. I didn't know how to sit in discomfort, which is something I've been teaching for years, to really understand what it feels like to sit in discomfort and to build that self-trust so that you can move through it. All right, practice self-compassion. All right, this one is huge, so listen closely. If you have an emotional eating moment, you are not a failure. You are not a failure. So before my mindset shift, I was a failure, a loser. You're such an idiot. Why did you do that again? That is no way to talk to yourself or anybody else for that matter. Okay. What I do now is I say what I talked about, what I have been talking about for years is, that's interesting. Why did I do that? I'm curious. What was I feeling? What triggered me? I have grace, compassion, love, and support for myself. I'm human. I don't expect to be perfect. All right. So, one indulgence or blowout or whatever does not erase your progress. One tough day doesn't mean you've blown it. It means you're learning, you're noticing, you're growing. Okay, so give yourself, oh, my heart just opens up to you. Give yourself compassion, grace, love, curiosity. Okay, and so we don't want to beat ourselves up. We say, that happened. I'm learning from it. What do I need to do right now? Okay, and reflect gently. What was I feeling before eating this food? What was I feeling in my body before eating this food? Was I feeling tightness in my throat? Was my gut off? Was my heart clenched? Like, what was I feeling? All right. And use this moment as data, not drama, right? So use this powerful moment to build you up instead of creating drama and more intense emotions around it. God, I wish I knew this stuff when I was younger. Okay, so the more compassion you bring to this process, the less power food will have over your emotions. And if you don't do these 8 things, like if you really don't take this week and last week's episode to heart and really spend the time, I know that you will, again, focus on food and exercise, but you won't address the underlying causes, and you'll stick to your program, and then something happens in life and you will drop off because you haven't dealt with these 8 things. Now, I'm going to tell you something. We are like peeling the layers of an onion. So when you're working through these 8 steps, you may work through one layer of that onion, and you may ride out that layer for a long time, and you may be groovy and everything's like your fat's coming off your weight, and then something happens in life. So when Crosby died, I regressed and I started to use some of my past tools that really did not benefit my health, like eating and drinking. And after doing this for a couple of months, I was like, oh my gosh, I had this awareness. Tanya, oh my gosh, you have just like gone back on this loop without even really noticing it. And you feel like crap. I felt horrible. And I mean, I was still teaching my classes, I was still eating healthy, but I was just doing too much of numbing behavior because I didn't know how to process grief. I didn't understand grief. Okay. And so I used this as a learning opportunity, and I was like, oh my gosh, I I've hit a layer of my onion where I've had grief in my life before. So it brought up feelings of when my parents separated. I'm not going to go into all of this right now. But I didn't deal with it then because I didn't know how as a teenager. And I reverted back to that layer in me. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was so grateful for learning this. So grateful because I learned how to process those emotions again that were stuck in my layer of my onion of just another release from abandonment and loneliness and the things I went through as an adolescent that I bottled up, suppressed, I didn't know how to address. Okay. And when Crosby died, they came on board, plus the grief. And it really gave me an opportunity to really look at my grief. And As soon as I connected those dots, I just stopped eating and drinking. It was like a tap turned off. Okay. So there was some self-compassion. There was realizing I was going backwards as protection for myself. I was going back to safety. And I was learning and I was asking myself questions, and I was never upset with myself or talking negatively. I was very curious. And then one day I had this huge aha. And there you go. I peeled that layer of my onion. Okay. So just because you do these 8 steps and everything goes groovy for a long time, little time, whatever time, what is time, and then you hit something that you need to learn, okay, come back. You may have to come back. Again, it may not be as much work this next time because every time I do this, it's less and less and less. But look at this as a gift, okay? So I hope that makes sense. That's really personal that I share this stuff, but this is my whole purpose of this podcast. Please share this. There are so many women struggling with trying to lose weight. I'm air quoting here, fat loss, without understanding the work that needs to do to allow your body to feel safe, to allow your nervous system. I did a great episode on nervous system. Just go to Menopause Made Easy with Tanya in Spotify, because I use Spotify. And if you go to my podcast and then you kind of pull down, it'll say find in this show and put nervous system in there. I did an amazing couple of episodes on nervous system. And when you start to get that thread to build your sweater, you will be like, it's just another huge piece. Okay. So I'm not going to rehash it here. You can go listen to it. All right. So let's recap the 4 steps that we talked about today. Stock your kitchen with healthy, satisfying choices. Practice mindful eating to reconnect with hunger cues. Move your body in loving ways and prioritize self-care. Respond to slip-ups with compassion, not criticism. And when you combine these with the 4 steps from last week, you've got a rock solid foundation. Okay? And you'll be ready to enter a fat loss phase, which if you go back to the beginning of January, I did a lose belly fat 5-part series. They're all very short. They're like under 20 minutes. And that will also give you a lot of foundations, and I'll continue to keep talking about it because the more you hear it, the more it starts to become the fabric of your being and you start to live it. All right. So, we will talk more about this fat loss phase that actually supports your body, your hormones, your mind, and your emotional well-being. And you will lose fat while preserving muscle. That's huge, ladies. Okay. It's not the number on the scale. It's the fat that you pinch and your visceral fat. Okay. And then you're going to learn how to cycle between fat loss and maintenance like a pro. And most importantly, you will be doing this from a place of love, compassion, grace, not punishment. All right. So if this episode hit home for you, send me a message, comment. I'd love to read your comments. I'd love hearing from listeners. Share this with a friend, family member who needs to hear that she's not alone in this journey. Okay. And if you're ready for more guidance, coaching, or just someone to help walk you through this season of life that you're in, just hit reply or message me and I'm here to help you. Okay. And until next time, be kind to yourself. You're doing a better job than you think you are. This is Tanya, and you've been listening to the Menopause Made Easy with Tanya podcast. Catch you next week, my beautiful, lovely ladies. Mwah.